following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome to the Box Score Breakdown Show for November 6, 2018. I am your host, Neil Rochlani. This show was recorded earlier with Adrian Benjamins and I recording a show together, and unfortunately there were some problems with the recording, and I am now re-recording the show at a much later hour, and Adrian is unavailable, so I will be doing this by myself. I apologize to Adrian and those expecting to hear him. And we did a pretty good show in terms of not just going through the games, but also some injury news and more talking about guys coming back. But because it is late in the evening, I am just going to do a very quick recap of the four games, and this will be a pretty short show. So earlier tonight, Atlanta lost to Charlotte 113-102 on the Atlanta side, with Taurean Prince out and John Collins still out. A lot of players getting minutes here. Players I'm still learning about, like Omari Spellman, Kevin Huerter, and then, of course, more familiar names like Trae Young, Kent Bazemore, and Alex Len. This team is led by Young tonight with 18 points, 3 rebounds, 10 assists. Had a decent night shooting of 8 of 19. Did not make it for three-pointer, though, and no defensive stats. He had a lot of turnovers, 6. And if you have him in a 9-cat league, you don't like him nearly as much if you have him in an 8-cat league, where he's producing just fine. Kent Bazemore continues to do okay for a late-round pick. 16 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 of 3 from the line, 2 3-pointers, and then a very good defensive night, 4 steals and 2 blocks, something he is very capable of doing. Alex Len in just 19 minutes really did not produce too much, someone I do not think is ownable, along with Spellman and Huerter. Off the bench, Bembry had 29 minutes, Vince Carter had 23 minutes, Jeremy Lin 18, and Dedmon 19. The only line really worth talking about is Lin, someone I think you should watch because he can put up decent fantasy values if he gets more minutes than this. Tonight he was good enough in 18 minutes with 19 points because he shot well. He made 7 of his 9 shots, had 2 assists, a rebound, a 3-pointer, and 2 steals, and 3 turnovers. I think he needs to get, though, into the high 20 minutes to really be consistently ownable in a 12-team league, and right now he's still on the outside looking in. I would continue to watch him. I would not look at adding either Spellman, Huerter, or Len at this point. I think you want to get John Collins if somehow he is out there, and Taurean Prince you may want to trade for if that owner is frustrated. Okay, moving on to the Charlotte side. This team goes as Kemba goes, and tonight he went well. 29 points on 12 of 22 shooting, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 3-pointers, 3 steals, and a block. He is delivering around 11th, 12th place right now, I believe, in 9-cat, and he was ranked high, and he's proven to be worth it. It's great to see him having such a good year if you own him. Lamb, just 23 minutes, 13, 3, and 1. Had a timeshare split again with Malik Monk, who played 20 minutes and had 13, no rebounds, and 6 assists. Lamb is the better fantasy value right now, but we'll see where this goes. Keep an eye on that. Cody Zeller has some of these games, just 27 minutes and put up just 4 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, no defensive stats. So a very weak game from him. Overall, he's a very low-end center value. Not someone I really enjoy having on my team because he has nights like this, which can be very frustrating. Marvin Williams, after some struggles, had a decent night in 27 minutes. Actually, a very good night, I should say, in Marvin Williams terms. 20 points, 8 rebounds, an assist, and a steal, and 3 3-pointers. He's, again, on the fringe of owning. If you need a sort of a 3-and-D guy, he will get a couple 3-pointers, maybe a steal and a block, and some decent rebounds. So if you need those categories, he is not a bad option to add if he's out there. Batum, someone I really like this year, is doing okay. I believe he's in the 60s. He played 33 minutes tonight, but did not have much in fantasy value, just 10 points, 5 rebounds. He did have 4 assists and did make 4 of 7 shots, including 2 3-pointers, but no defensive stats. You kind of like to see him get a steal or a block or multiple defensive numbers. And then off the bench, Tony Parker, 21 minutes. Miles Bridges, 20 minutes. And then Kid Gilchrist played just 17 minutes, was injured, and then came back later. Hernan Gomez is the one guy who could emerge as a fantasy relevant player off the bench if his minutes ever get boosted up right now. Tonight, he had 16 minutes with 9 points, 9 rebounds, and 1 assist. Only took 2 shots, made all his free throws, 4 and a 3-pointer, including 2 steals and a block. If he should somehow find himself replacing Cody Zeller, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. People talk about Hernan Gomez as the better center, but certainly in terms of fantasy value, he is on a permanent basis. But in terms of real life value, I think Zeller still is a key component to this offense and defense. So they need him out there, and Hernan Gomez is on the outside looking in. But keep him on your watch list. He's someone, if Zeller were to miss a game, I would plug Hernan Gomez in a minute. So let's move on to the second game of the night, Washington against Dallas. Dallas wins 119-100. Start off with the Washington side. They are a mess. They are one of the worst teams in the East in terms of records right now, and they're clearly not one of the worst teams in terms of talent. So biggest concern here is what happens if things continue to go south for this team and Scott Brooks gets fired or someone gets traded or someone gets benched. The 2 guys at the top are so good, I can't see either one ever getting benched, but I don't know how this really poor real-life play can continue without some sort of shakeup somewhere, roster, coach, something. Anyway, tonight John Wall played 41 minutes, 24 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists. Had 2 3-pointers, 3 steals, and a block. Bradley Beal, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 for 4 from the line, just 1 of 9 from 3-point land, though. A steal and 2 blocks, so a solid night nonetheless. Dwight Howard is actually looking pretty good. He's, I believe, in the 50s right now on an average basis. Tonight, 8 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists. Made 2 of his 4 free throws attempts and had 1 block. Otto Porter had a solid game, a very good game by his standards, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. On 7 of 12 shooting, 5 3-pointers, 2 steals and 2 blocks. Actually, one of the better fantasy lines of the night. Very efficient night. Markieff Morris got in foul trouble, just played 22 minutes, just had 4 points, one of these throwaway nights that we sometimes see from these low usage guys, sort of the 4th option on a team that really isn't in there for their scoring. Kelly Oubre Jr. off the bench. You really can't trust him unless he's starting tonight in 23 minutes, just 6, 2, and 1 with no 3-pointers, no defensive stats. Austin Rivers not really contributing enough. Same with Jeff Green when he is not in that starter's role. Maybe a deep league look for Rivers if you need someone who can score, and there's not many options out there. And between him and Green, it's hard to say who's better. I guess Green might be slightly better, but no one here really worth owning in standard leagues that probably isn't already owned. Moving on to the Dallas side, Luka Doncic just having a great rookie year. 23 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 9 of 16 shooting, 3 of 3 from the line, 2 3-pointers and a steal. Did have 4 turnovers, but something that was sort of expected from a rookie who's handling the ball a lot. Harrison Barnes, good to see him have a nice game here. 19 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 of 5 from the line, 2 3-pointers, 2 steals. Someone who usually doesn't get this many rebounds and actually out-rebounded DeAndre Jordan. A bit surprising, one of those games where I guess Wash took a lot of threes and a lot of long rebounds. DeAndre Jordan had 8 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists. Just took 5 shots, made 3 of them. He is shooting over 80% from the free throw line tonight, 2 of 2. And I'm not sure how high this will stay, but right now he is producing 2nd to 3rd round value, and that's phenomenal. Good for him on improving his ability to shoot free throws. Had a block as well. Wesley Matthews, someone who is sort of a 3 guy, not really a 3 and D guy because his steals and blocks are so low, but can get you 5 3-pointers like he did tonight and shoot free throws well, 3 for 3. So on nights when he's hitting a shot, he's going to put up multiple 3-pointers, 3+ 3-pointers. Tonight he did that with 5 again and 22 points. Does not do much anywhere else. So there's usually a handful of guys out there that can do things like this. He will, and Wesley Matthews is in that category, just do not expect to get any defensive stats from him. 2 rebounds and no assists. Dennis Smith Jr., 19 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. He had a solid night, 5 of 5 from the line, 2 3-pointers and a steal. Off the bench, Dory Finney-Smith with 11 points, 5 rebounds. JJ Barea put up 8 assists, can put up good assist numbers in a bench capacity. That's about all he does, though, in addition to shooting for the free throw. Shoot well from the free throw line, but it's such a low volume, it really doesn't help you too much. Tonight, just 1 for 1 and had 1 3. Maxi Kleber, someone I like to watch, but not really fantasy relevant, just 16 minutes, along with Dwight Powell. He played 15 minutes. These two guys, I don't think we'll see fantasy relevancy, but if there is an injury, they could very much get there on a one-off basis. Moving on to Phoenix. Brooklyn looks like a legitimate NBA team this year. So happy for that organization. They've got a solid coach and a solid rotation. Tonight they win 104-82 on the road. A very impressive win by my standards. I know Phoenix is not a tough competition, but when you go on the road and win convincingly in the NBA, especially if you're not a very good team yourself, it says a lot about you. And tonight's team is led by LeVert as usual. He's had a phenomenal year, 26 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 of 4 from the line, 3 3-pointers, a steal and a block. D'Angelo Russell has been playing just fine, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. 2 of 2 from the line, a 3-pointer, 2 steals. They have another very capable point guard and Spencer Dinwiddie. He played 30 minutes. Outplayed Russell in minutes in very similar lines. 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals and a block. There are 3 other starters. Jared Allen at center, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal and a block, and 2 for 2 from the line, 4 of 7 from the field. Pretty much living up to his value, unless you drafted him really early, but was a buzzy guy and seems to be doing just fine. Jared Dudley, someone who's getting 24 minutes in the start, but not much in terms of fantasy value. Joe Harris has been doing pretty well, was in the top 30 just last week. For a 1 week, I should say, basis, he's more in the 70s. Tonight had an offline for his shot under 50%, had 11 points, no rebounds, just a single assist and a block, and just 1 3-pointer. I expect him to bounce back. Alan Crabb has been relegated to the bench, 22 minutes, 7 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. I don't think he'll get that role back. Along with Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, someone who I thought that might take the starting job back by now. He's been back for a little while. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Just played 13 minutes, 5 points, 2 rebounds, and assists. It looks like this team has sort of found its rotation, although we'll find out what happens when Damari Carroll comes back. If anything, I imagine he would take over for Jared Dudley, but we'll see how that plays out. These Nets players tend to not put up a lot of time on the court, but they do put up pretty good per-minute stats, so a handful of guys worth owning or watching. On the Phoenix side, just a terrible night for them. Ayton did produce just fine, though. He scored 15 points, had 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 of 3 from the line, no steals or blocks. Devin Booker, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 6 of 21 shooting. Did go 6 for 6 from the line, had 2 3-pointers and a steal. Isaiah Canaan, 13 points on 36 minutes, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. He does... Some nights he looks decent in terms of fantasy stat lines, like tonight, 5 of 6 from the line, 2 3-pointers and a steal. Other nights, not so much. And this may be a high watermark for his minutes. So I would not look to pick him up unless you're very desperate for a point guard. Trevor Ariza, I would actually go get Derek White, who's coming back from San Antonio, if he is still available over Isaiah Canaan. Trevor Ariza having a not such a great year. Has had a couple good lines recently, but still outside the top 100 tonight. 8 points, 7 rebounds and assists, 2 for 2 from 3-point land and a block. Ryan Anderson getting the start, but not really doing anything off the bench. Mikal Bridges, I think he is the one to watch if you're looking for a pickup. Tonight he got 28 minutes in a blowout. He has been getting mid-20 minutes. Tonight did not really do much. Only 2 of 7 shooting, so just 6 points, a rebound, and assist. But he is a talented young player and did have 2 3-pointers. As Phoenix goes more and more into, well, it's really too early to say tank mode, but as they go into the youth movement, which usually happens some point after the calendar year changes, between the calendar year changing and then the All-Star break, is when you start to see some movement there. And I think Mikal Bridges is someone who will benefit from that at some point. I would not reach him for him yet, but if there is any injury to this front court, then or into these wing positions, you may look to him. And another guy who you may want to stream if 8 never goes down, or if you just need someone for a short period of time who can put up decent numbers in low minutes, and that's Richaun Holmes. 13 points, 10 rebounds. He's going to have some really bad nights, though, if he is not starting, and so you're going to have to live with that. Did have 2 blocks and a steal. A lot of this was not in competitive time, so it's hard to know how much to trust here. I will say, though, if Ayton is ever out for a game and Richaun is looking to get the start, he will put up solid numbers as a starter. Okobo, someone who may also be part of this youth movement in a couple months. Right now, though, just 13 minutes and not really doing much fantasy-wise. Same with TJ Warren. This guy is really hard to know. He seems to have lost his role now that Booker is back, and only played 13 minutes tonight, 0 of 5 from 3-point land, and just, I should say, 0 of 5 from the field. He had 0 points and 3 rebounds. So, unfortunately, I think maybe you hold on to him for a couple more games and see if things change. Maybe it's just a one-game issue. He is someone they typically rely on for scoring, and tonight did not produce anything. And now we'll go on to the last game of the night, Milwaukee versus Portland. Portland wins 118-103. Milwaukee, Giannis had a stellar night as usual, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. I should say maybe stellar is too strong of a word, but he did shoot 11 for 18 from the field, 1 of 2 from the line, and had 6 turnovers and no defensive stats. So something we kind of expect from Giannis, not to really make a three-pointer, or not that many of them, and also to struggle a tiny bit from the line. And if you have him in 9-cat, the turnovers have been really high this year. Middleton, a solid game, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 3-pointers, 2 of 2 from the line. Brook Lopez had a strong game for him, 22 points, 4 rebounds and assists, along with a block and 6 3-pointers. A very slow night for Bledsoe, 5 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 of 12 shooting, no steals, no blocks, a 3-pointer. Brogdon had a very paltry line, just 4 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists on 2 of 8 shooting, no defensive stats. This game was competitive through much of it, and then Portland sort of pulled away at the end, so some of these minutes are a little bit lower than normal. Off the bench, Ilyasova played 24 minutes. DiVincenzo, a guy I still love in 16-team leagues or deeper, if he's still out there, he's playing 23 minutes. On the outside looking in, Tony Snell from years past was a deep league guy, and maybe John Henson. Both those guys are not really putting up any value this year. Only takeaways on this is Lopez, I think you just have to hold on to. He's not going to put up this many points, but he can get you blocks and threes, which is such a rare combination among fantasy players that I think his uniqueness keeps him providing some value. Bledsoe just had an off game, and Brogdon has been decent this year. His real value has been through the percentages have kept him afloat in fantasy value. On to the Portland side. CJ McCollum finally had a really strong game. 40 points on 17 and 26 shooting, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 3-pointers, 4 steals. Good to see him have a great night after having such a struggling start to the year. And looks like both in reality, and I know in fantasy it's been very struggling. I think it's been in reality too. Damian Lillard, 13 points, just 13 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists on 5 of 15 shooting, 3 3-pointers and a block. Jake Layman, Amino getting starts at the wing and not really doing too much. I'm not going to go through those lines. I don't think either one is worth owning in 12-team leagues. Nurkic is, of course, and had 12 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 block, 2 of 4 from the line. Off the bench, Evan Turner had a double-double with 16 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. And then Zach Collins, someone who may have been picked up in your league or picked up and dropped in your league tonight in 24 minutes, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 3 of 5 shooting, 2 of 2 from the line, a 3-pointer, no defensive stats. Someone I think is not going to take over the starting job anytime soon. Is splitting minutes more with Nurkic, but he's going to have some nights that he just doesn't put up a lot of value because he's relying on making a lot of his shots. And if he doesn't make them, tonight he went 3 for 5, so it doesn't look too bad on 9-5 and a 3-pointer, but it's not a great line. And if he went 0 for 5, it would look horrendous. So someone I don't think is worth owning just yet if he's hovering out there. Miles Leonard played 16 minutes. Not really worth mentioning in standard leagues. Maybe a flyer in deeper leagues. Same with Stauskas, although you could probably do much better than him. Evan Turner would be one guy in deeper leagues. I don't trust him in standard leagues because he seems to get minutes more on the matchup. Sometimes gets solid minutes where he can put up decent lines. Other nights will put up very low fantasy numbers in a very limited role. So someone I'm not targeting in standard leagues. And that will do it for the night. The show, again, is very short because this is the second recording and where I botched the initial recording with Adrian. So I apologize to him and all the work he did tonight, which went for naught. So with that, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Oh, actually, I should say, first of all, the in-season membership is available on Hoopball. You can go get that for, I believe, $20. And then there's a coupon code. You can use my name, NEIL, to get additional $3 off. Also, hit us up with any questions on Twitter. For me, it's at ballwithneil. That's BALLWITHNEIL. And then Adrian Benjamin's is his name, which I'm sure you guys can all spell. So he's at Adrian Benjamin's. And we love to take Twitter questions either to respond directly to, which we'll all respond directly to, but also to talk about on the show. We had actually talked through a couple of them in the initial recording of the show, so I'm sorry that got edited out, but we will continue to do so, so please reach out to us. And with that, I'll call it a night, and we will be back tomorrow.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.